Cult of Lamb from Massive Monster and Devolver Digital asks the question, how far will you go to make the perfect cult? Will you be a benevolent leader, leading your followers into a new dawn?
Or you could just sacrifice your followers to a massive bikini monster on an entertainer.
Massive Monster has taken a roguelike, added a fun and snappy combat system, an addictive base building distraction that not only feeds into the combat but also offers a lot of freedom in creating your own cult, and a story that mixes dark and gothic themes with characters that wouldn't feel out of place in Animal Crossing. There are so many roguelikes out there today, vying for money and attention. It's an incredibly competitive genre where only the most unique ideas succeed. When I started Cult of Lamb, I didn't expect that I would have dumped so many hours into the base building side of the game. I would usually spend hours crafting the perfect cult that would meet my needs. Sure, the dungeon runs were fun, but what I found the most addicting was simply building farms, extorting my cultists for money, feeding them to each other, forcing them to fight each other for my own amusement, and tending to my own garden. Though this has definitely been one of my favourite games of 2022, it has not been the smoothest of experiences, with regular bugs that can really impact the experience, and a lot of unrealised potential. But when the game is this much fun, it doesn't completely sour the experience. In Cult of Lamb, you play the adorable lamb known as Lamb. After your entire kind was sacrificed to the four prophets of the cult of the Old Faith, Leshy, the prophet of the Dark Wood, Hecate, the prophet of Aurora, Kalamar, the prophet of the Anchor Deep, and the ancient Amura of the Silk Cradle. But when you were killed for their dark ritual, you are given the opportunity to become the vessel for a powerful demon known as the One Who Waits, an ancient and dark being who was trapped by the prophets of the Old Faith. Now free from your shackles, you have the power to form your own cult and kill each of the four prophets to repay your debt to this mysterious force. Merging the child-friendly aesthetic of the character designs with the eldritch horrors you fight gives the game a unique feel that helps set it apart from other roguelikes. You will meet many quirky characters throughout your playtime, such as the mushroom-addicted Sozo, Helob, who sells you his victims.
Got some rare things on sale, stranger.
The weird fisherman that's definitely not fish, and
The fox.
the most important ones to the story, however, are the four prophets of the Old Faith. As you go through each zone, you'll come into contact with them, before culminating in a final boss fight with one of them. But outside of minor interactions you have with them, they don't have a major influence over your cult. There could have been real potential to give the prophets a connection to the player outside of boss fights. They won't destroy your crops or cause mass starvation, or send spies to your cult to cause deceit. Outside of a handful of moments where you get the impression there is something more ambitious going on, and that you killing the prophets will have more of an impact or even consequences, it comes off as more of a slap on the wrist. To free the One Who Waits, you must venture into the lands ruled by the Old Faith and kill the prophets, the creepy forests of the Dark Wood, the Aurora with its mushroom-infected backdrops, the spider-infected Silk Cradle, and the underwater ruins of the Anchor Deep. Each has their own unique enemy to fight, making them at least gameplay-wise stand out. Outside of enemy interactions, each of the zones is largely the same, and have the same structure of going through procedurally generated maps to get to the boss at the end. The routine of doing runs in the dungeons to grow your cult and kill the prophets will make up a majority of the runtime, as you die and resurrect again and again. It's a good thing then that combat is entertaining and worth sinking hours into. Combat is all about moving quickly between enemies, dodging attacks and surviving bullet hell moments in boss fights. The combat is simplistic with only a few buttons to remember, but it's fast paced and never feels sloppy. To add some variety to the runs, the game has a temporary buff system in the form of tarot cards. These can vary from simple health boosts to powerful damage altering perks. The cards themselves add a sense of unpredictability, as you never know what you're going to get, and only a few of the cards feel completely worthless. Even your lamb's fleece has buffs. That, along with the crown perks, adds a nice amount of variety to the way runs can be customized. When it comes to weapons, there's daggers, knives, axes, claws, hammers and swords. The weapons even have their own variants, such as godly weapons that are more powerful than the base model, bane weapons that have a chance to cause poison damage, and vampiric weapons that drains the health from your victims. Each of the different weapons are varied and fun to use because they work with the movement of your character, except for the hammers where the slow wind up leaves you open to damage. It doesn't work with the quick enemies that zip around the map and the player character's own movement. Your lamb has access to different projectiles and close range abilities in the form of curses. Curses can either be charged to allow you to aim the attack, or quickly activated in a pinch. Deciding when to do a focused directional attack and when to quickly fire off an attack is usually dependent on the type of enemies you're fighting. But unlike your other abilities, it's a finite resource that requires you to kill enemies to refill it, so making sure you have enough left over for when you're completely surrounded is very important. The maps can sometimes have too much going on within them, with projectiles, enemies flying around, enemies that get pushed into the backdrops, environmental assets like grass and rocks, can combine to make an arena with too much going on within it, coupled with the infrequent frame rate drops. These don't completely sour my opinion of this game, but they are important to note. Outside the main quest line, you can do various side missions for many other lovable characters, and play a fun dice game called Knuckle Draggers. Each run within the dungeons is completely different, offering different weapons, tarot cards, resources, and vendors, though the randomness can stack the cards against you at times, giving you a weapon like a hammer that can completely destroy your progress in the runs, and the chance to find a replacement in that run is completely up to the game's terms. But while diving into dungeons does make up a substantial part of the game, there is another half to this cult pie. The other half of the game is building and managing your own cult. Your members are the lifeblood of your cult. They need beds to sleep in, food to eat, and their needs must be met. They will come to you with wants and needs, and these are vital for maintaining your members' loyalty. If for whatever reason the loyalty of your cult decreases, then examples must be made. No one speaks ill of the leader, lest they meet a gruesome end. The more loyal your cultists are, the more faith you receive. The more faithful a cultist is, the happier they are. Faith is increased during sermons, certain rituals, blessings, and confession box visits, to name but a few. Faith is also a form of XP for both you and your followers. For you, it's a means of obtaining powerful upgrades and more advanced structures for your cult. For your cultists, the higher their faith, the more useful they become, such as sending them out on crusades for resources, or turning them into demons to follow you into battle. The most important building in your cult is your church. This is where you do sermons, rituals, and upgrades for yourself. Certain rituals can be used to increase your wealth, making your cult more obedient by making them trip balls and shrooms, sacrificing members, resurrecting members, or forcing cultists to fight to the death. But some of these rituals have the possibility to decrease your cult's faith, so it's a constant juggling act between your desires and the needs of your cult. Within the church, you can also pass laws by using doctrines obtained by leveling up your members. Doctrines can determine how your cult will function and what rituals you will obtain. It makes your cult feel more personal, and it never feels like you're being punished for how you want your cult to be run. Base building never feels forced on you. It's a natural part of the gameplay experience, like in Hades, where returning after either successful run or unsuccessful run never feels like a chore. As you develop your cult, the more you'll get out of it. Resources like food to create dishes to not only feed you, but also your cult members. Money that can be used to buy decorations for your cult, additional tarot cards, and items from vendors found throughout your playtime. This is such a well fleshed out addition to the game that it could literally stand on its own. The gameplay in the dungeons and the base building of your cult feed into each other, improving your cult by building more advanced structures like the demonic circle, where you can turn cultists into demons that can assist you in your runs. The more you increase their loyalty, the more powerful a demon they will become, adding a sense of not only connection to your favorite cult members, but also a reason to level them up. Cult of Lamb is a great roguelike. that has some serious potential to be one of the best games of the year. Minor setbacks like glitches, crashes, especially during the first weeks of release, but since the latest patch, crashes are almost gone. A disappointing post-game, combat annoyances, and a lack of consequences to your actions. But the addictive base building is what stuck out the most to me, as it turned a serviceable roguelike into something special. The freedom in creating your own cult, and the adorable yet disturbing art style keep this from being just another roguelike, and the future looks bright, with a roadmap of content planned, which is great to hear, as once the campaign is finished, there is little reason to return outside of trophy hunting. But Cult of Lamb is definitely something special.